What if I told you that your perception of your body size can be manipulated by external sensory information? To start, let me introduce myself. My name is Marie Léritier, and I have always been passionate about our brain and its connections. That's why I am a neuroscience student. In this video, I am going to tell you about a study carried out by Henrik Ersson and his colleagues on the brain, perception, and the body's shrinking illusion. Here is the scientific article I am going to present today. We will explore how human brain perceives the size of the body and which neural mechanisms are involved. As you may know, your body image is the perception of the spatial dimensions of your body, its size and shape. We all need it in our daily lives. Feeling thin or fat or getting out of the car without bumping your head are good examples of the importance of body image. Unlike physical senses such as pain, there are no specialized receptors in the body that tell the brain about the size and shape of body parts. So, how does the central nervous system calculate the relative size and shape of the body and its parts? Previous research suggests that the perception of the size depends on the integration and comparison of somatic signals from different parts of the body and visual information. Or, to put it more simply, the size of body parts would be represented according to the size of other body parts and objects around us. But which neural mechanisms are involved? You may have heard about sensory areas in the brain. Your brain has 4 cerebral lobes, and this is what you can see in this image. The sensitive areas are part of the parietal cortex here. These parts of the brain receive and process sensory information, including visual, auditory, tactile, gustatory, olfactory systems. The Erson's team hypothesized that activity in higher order somatosensory areas of the parietal cortex would reflect changes in perceived size. With this in mind, let me turn to the method they used. They recruited a group of healthy human adults without any neurological or psychological disorders that could influence body perception. Firstly, they made an illusion shrinking of the waist. How? As you can see here, they induced a vibration of the skin on the tendon of a muscle. This creates a kinesthetic illusion that the joint is passively flexing. At the same time, the hand in direct contact with the waist sends to the brain a signal of stability. These two pieces of information create a conflict that the brain resolves by recalibrating waist size and shape. That's why participants felt their waist shrink. Researchers were inspired by a method called Pinocchio illusion. Secondly, they used functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, to show that altering sensory feedback can create the illusion that certain parts of the body, such as the waist, are shrinking or growing. fMRI was used to track and monitor brain activity during the experiment. It measures changes in blood flow called bold signal in the brain to identify which areas are activated during specific sensory experiences. This allowed researchers to identify which parts of the brain were active during the sensation of body size change, particularly focusing on the parietal cortex. When they had neuroimages, they analyzed the brain scans to see how the illusory perception of body size was reflected in the participants' brain activity. These are important for linking subjective perceptions of body size with objective neural activity, helping to reveal the role of our brain in body perception. Note that we've seen the illusion of a shrinking waist created by tactile stimulation and the brain activation observed with fMRI. Let's look at the results. When participants experienced the illusion that their waist was shrinking, the fMRI shows a higher activity in higher order somatosensory areas in the parietal cortex. This suggests that the perception of body size is actively modulated by sensory feedback from the environment, rather than being a fixed and unchanging perception. Moreover, what they find is that an increase in brain activity correlates with the degree of perception of shrinkage. In other words, the more people felt their waist was shrinking, the more the parietal cortex was activated. These findings are significant because they show how parietal cortex constructs and modifies your perception of our own bodies, and researchers validated their hypothesis. However, there are some limitations of this study. Firstly, the study was carried out with a small number of participants. This may affect the generalizability of the results. Secondly, the size illusions induced were specific to the waist, and we don't know if the same neural mechanisms apply to other parts of the body. This suggests the need for further research to extend the findings to broader context and larger participant groups. Now, we need to think about the future. Future studies could explore how other body parts are perceived and whether similar neural mechanisms apply. Research can explore therapeutic intervention for body image disorders by manipulating sensory feedback to correct distorted body perception. As this study is a cross-sectional study, make a longitudinal study would be interesting to have a look at neural plasticity in body image processing. To conclude, the results of the study demonstrate that the sensation of the waist shrinking is not fixed but modulated by sensory input. It concludes that the parietal cortex plays a central role in processing this body size illusion. These findings support the idea that the brain integrates sensory signals to maintain an internal body representation. This can be altered through external stimuli. Moreover, the Hason's team predicts the same results for expansion in waist, as the fMRI bold signal doesn't distinguish the direction of movement. This neural flexibility is critical for understanding body image and spatial awareness. It also helps to understand how body image distortions, such as those seen in disorders like anorexia nervosa, could arise. The main thing I would like you to away from this is that the study provides neurophysiological evidence that the parietal cortex is involved in the construction of our body image. It bridges sensory input with body representation, providing a foundation for further studies on sensory manipulation and body perception. What if I told you that this study is just a glimpse into how our brains construct our body image?